In 1995, I read an unpublished manuscript called Godforsaken by a great young writer named Jay Bonansinga. I was a young producer. Rand Ravitch was a young screenwriter. He ended up writing the script on spec. Simon & Schuster ended up picking up the book. They changed the title to The Killer's Game. We ended up selling the script for, it was a pretty big spec sale at the time. That started the journey of like what is decades and decades and decades. Actually, when you think about it, it's actually 4 decades, but 28 and a half years. If a decade's the 90s, it's really bananas. I couldn't, after all the permutations of this, there is no better Joe Flood that has walked the planet of planet Earth except Dave Bautista. I know he's working really hard, but it doesn't come like the great actors. They're working hard to ground the drama, but you never see it. He's able to deliver things that are so nuanced and so challenging, and it comes across as like super vulnerable. You obviously believe he's like a very capable guy as an assassin and all of that stuff. It's the humor, it's the vulnerability, it's the drama, it's him sticking the landing with a love story, so we're rooting for him and Maize. I can't imagine a better Joe Flood. Sofia, in reality, is a super obvious choice in a really good way. She's beautiful, she's a great actress. She was also a professional dancer. Really what her role is her role's like she's the angel that's bringing Joe out of the darkness. Terry hasn't played like a bad guy who's physical, and if you see Terry Crews, he's like a freak of nature specimen of like, there's a lot of large, very fit men on this movie. I think Terry might be the best. There's actually a scene we have with Terry with his shirt off, and people are gonna think we've like airbrushed in his 6-pack or his 8-pack or 12-pack, whatever the hell it is. I've never seen his stomach like that. He is physical, he's scary as hell, and he's funny. You can be maybe good at 1 or 2 of those, but to be good at all 3, it's very, very hard. We're just blessed to have Terry. He just kills it. Ben Kingsley is one of the great actors of multiple generations. He is kind of Joe's handler. We allude that he was by far the best assassin in his field. Now he's kind of doesn't go out and do the actual hits themselves. Zvi has this incredible bond and friendship with these 2 kind of hardened soldiers, but you see underneath it is a lot of warmth, and we get to see a window into Joe's soul and how he reacts to Maize, and him and his wife Sharon can spot how much Joe loves this woman Maize. So of course Zvi won't accept the hit and won't put an assassin on him, but he brings a believability, a credibility, and a groundingness to his character, but there's a lot of very funny one-liners he has. You have David Wolfie, who's just, the costumes in the movie. Each particular assassin comes from a different walk of life, and we have this amazing character introductions, and you have to dress them distinctly. You don't want, these killers all have to have their own personality. So I think Wolfie actually has had a lot of fun because, between Ginni and Tonic and Crichton Lovedoll, Lovedoll's in this crazy, beautiful, I think it's a snakeskin red coat. And Palm Clementif is in this. I realize she's in every jacket she's in is an animal. It's amazing. The thing that I love about Budapest, we shot in some really iconic locations. We shot in the Opera House. I love Doll's introductions at the famous train station here. And then what you need to do, though, when you're in some of these iconic locations and you have action, you have to recreate those on stage because we have breakaway walls and all this breakaway stuff. So Matt Gant has balanced the real life locations with being on studio work and getting the action in a safe environment flawlessly. I rarely have worked with a director who is so prepared. I think it's in those countless hours of second unit that he's done over his career where things are previs to an inch of their life, so he knows exactly what he's doing each day. Without the vision, you could be as prepared as you would, could possibly be, but it would never translate. But JJ's got a really clear vision, and I've been very impressed with the tone. Now seeing him work, I think the biggest surprise for me is how funny JJ is and how he's been able to choreograph both physically and verbally with these amazing one-liners that give the movie so much personality. We have all these incredible assassins, some that work together within a team, some that are singular. I give JJ Perry a lot of credit because we cast these people that are not only like incredible actors, but they're also super, super physical. Drew McIntyre is a big WWE superstar, and we teamed him with a great actor named Scott Adkins, and they play these kind of degenerate Scottish brothers that are assassins and a real hot mess, but really good at what they do. And Drew just is amazing, and Scott really stars in movies in his own right and is an incredible actor and an incredible physical athlete. So together, the two of them, it was a blessing to have Drew work with somebody as talented as Scott. We cast a great stunt person who is also an actor named Lucy Cork, and we teamed her with Shaina West, who is this young, incredible actress who was in Woman King. And they play kind of Ginni and Tonic, and they are sexy and formidable female assassins. We cast a gentleman named Daniel Bernhardt, who's amazing, as Max, who is Antoinette's mercenary bodyguard. We have Marcos, who plays Botas, who is a Latin killer who's got a very emotional sensibility, and he loves listening to music as he's about to kill people. So it's a really colorful band of people.
Andrew Lazar and Steve Richards are the producers of this film, and they have a very considerable and very admirable pedigree. The work that they have done is of tremendously high quality, and therefore, if they have invited me to contribute modestly to their film, I take their invitation seriously and address myself to the script and agree to do it. Our dear JJ, who's moved from one style to another, or in fact stayed faithful to his upbringing in the stunt world, but has translated that discipline into filmmaking on a rather broader canvas. I admire people who are becoming something, and he is, I think, becoming something really special. I've enjoyed working with him tremendously. Well, it's apparent that JJ has the confidence to weave together several genres into one film, and he is the man capable of doing it. He has a military background, and he runs a very tight ship, and I enjoyed working with him tremendously. To be with a force that's becoming something, and he's earnestly committed to the process of becoming something new and different, is stimulating and inspiring. So I salute him. It deals with romantic love in a very straightforward, very honest, and very rooted fashion. It deals in mythology, to my taste, and of course it deals in things get blown up. They really do. I wasn't called today, but I picked up the call sheet. This will give you some indication of the chap we're dealing with. Love and death montage. You see, that's elemental. I think this film stands the chance of being tremendously entertaining because it's going to be very moving, very exciting, and you are going to care about the characters. My dear colleague, David, presents a vulnerable man, a warrior who still has tremendous strength but believes he is profoundly wounded. It's rooted in some kind of military tacit understanding that you will watch my back and I'll watch your back. There is the element of the protege, there's the element of the commanding officer and one of his finest soldiers. I said to JJ and I said to our wonderful producers, I'm here to be a rock. Zvi is a rock. Zvi and Joe occupy a particular corner of the film. I must salute JJ and the directors and the writer, because it's a corner of the film that is a kind of cornerstone, rooted in reality and discipline and loyalty. A gentleman like David, who is moving into dramatic interpretations of his roles, as well as, of course, physical interpretations of his roles. I very much enjoyed working with Dave, because he's a man who has achieved a great deal in his career, but is still extremely open to learning something new. He has a tremendous curiosity, a very healthy curiosity about the business, about discipline, about the rhythm of the work and character. So it has been a very gratifying experience.
My character, I'm a former military guy, mercenary, super tough guy. They call me in the film war criminal, but I'm not. I just take the job, the best job I can get. I got hired by Marianne to be her personal bodyguard, security, and also there's some benefits. So it turned out to be a great job. I make a lot of money. She pays me very well, and she's a beautiful lady. I love Pom. Pom is just absolutely amazing. She was just such a pro. We had her only for a short time, so all the scenes, I have like 4 or 5 scenes with her. We all shot them in 1.5 days, and we were just running the lines, doing one scene after the other, and I really, really had a good time. I really, really like Sofia. I think all the women in this film are so badass. I think they're tougher than the guys. She's a dear friend, really nice lady. I got a chance to hang out with her a little bit. Terry Crews, oh my God, he is unbelievable. I've watched his career for the last 20 years. The man is built like a statue. He's like chiseled out of a rock. He's incredible, super nice man. When he first arrived, we start running lines. We have a bunch of scenes together. Yesterday, we did a beautiful scene where I pulled a gun on him, and he was really funny. I think he's a man who just loves life and is very grateful for what he has. And he is just very good, and he loves to work. And we're like the same age, and we're both just very grateful. And we're like, hey, I'm very grateful too. Let's do our lines, and let's just have a great day and go back home and have a good time. I think I've never worked with a director who's more enthusiastic. He runs around, he grabs the lights, who wants to go? Who wants to do another take? When things get a little slow on set and everybody's kind of like just talking and dragging their feet a little bit, and you see JJ going like, who wants to try one? And I stole that from him, and I love it, and I love it. No, he is just amazing. He is so generous. He gives great direction. He's very good at what he does. He knows exactly what he wants. You know, sometimes he gave me 1 take. He goes, that's it, I got it, that was great. Sometimes I get 2 or 3 takes. Then sometimes he said, hey, do you want one more? And I said, hey, if you're happy, then let's move on. And he knows exactly what he wants, and that's so beautiful about him. This movie will be a little gem. I think it'd be a little action gem. It'll be like I think this could be like a little cult movie. That's what I'm thinking. It's really amazing what they put together, and the action scenes. And then, you know, to talk about the action, Justin, who's also one of the 87 guys, he's absolutely amazing. I mean, watching him work is like watching an artist. And Felix, who's the fight coordinator, he's incredible. I'm very grateful to be here and just being part of this incredible group. And thank you, JJ, for having me. You can always call me. And by the way, I'm available again.
I feel my relationship and connection with JJ was the main thing to this because we've been friends since a long time. He's been a big inspiration in my career as a martial artist. I remember seeing an old demo reel of JJ when I was like just starting, and it was a big inspiration for me. And then, you know, through life and different jobs, I was able to kind of get to know him and all that. And after many years, then I received the offer to be in this movie. And of course, it's like amazing opportunity for me to express myself and in doing what I love to do, that is acting and martial arts. So, and what could be better in the hands of like a great martial artist director, JJ Perry, you know?
JJ's a really old friend, and I love JJ. JJ's the most incredible martial artist, like one of the best I've probably met in my life. I mean, you're amazing, but this guy, I mean, the speed he has. So, make a long story short, he's become a really good friend. We did a whole bunch of projects together. We work out of 8711, and he calls me up and he says, hey Daniel, I got something for you. And I said, I don't even ask what it is. And I'm sure it was the same with you. It was just like, I was just like, I'm in whatever it is. If I'm a stuntman, if I'm an actor, whatever you want me to do, a fight scene, I'm in. I think he is just this amazing guy, and we all love JJ, right? I personally, when I read the script, I bawled my eyes out. And I remember reading it and I go, oh my God, this is really, really good. And then I thought it was really clever. And I go, you know what they should do? They should not have him been sick. And the whole thing is a mistake. And then like 3 pages later, that's what happened. I thought, just all the characters, like his character, Scott's character, the girls, all the hitman, then my character. I thought it was just hilarious. I think this is going to be a blast, this movie.
It creates a world of these assassins that have a very strong personality and they're very well developed. You have the story of this very, that is kind of guy retiring and he's going through all these relationship and emotional things. But what it makes a difference is that with the story, you're also creating like a world of this type of assassin, and you really go deep on their stories, and you can have a sense that these guys can exist. The script takes the time to go a little bit with each of the assassins and know their stories a little bit, and that's kind of really engaging.
What I think the writer and JJ are doing really well, they're establishing each character that you actually care about. There's a lot of movies, you know, where you see action films where the bad guys just die left and right, and you don't care about them. But in our story, he really follows your character, he follows Scott's character, he follows my character, so you actually care about the guys.
The first thing that really grabs me is the love story and how you really connect with the main character. Like, you know, few pages already, and I was already in love with the main character. And then, you know, when I heard Dave was playing, I was like, oh my God, he's so perfect for it. Like, I love that dynamic of you have this great assassin, but he's still vulnerable, and he has this world of emotions and feelings, and I love it. And how it came out in the script through his character and the relationship with the girl, I was very hooked. And then, of course, when I saw my character, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be fun. You know, the dancing and like this very sexy, you know, like passionate character. And yeah, no,
I tried to be sexy too, but it didn't work. JJ goes, no, you can't be sexy. We already have one sexy one. I was like, really? I can't be sexy? Are you sure?
He's a very passionate guy. He had a love story before, but she was, she was killed. I always dedicate my kills to her, to my love. So that's, you know, I'm always listening music and remembering the moments that we were dancing together. So I turned that into my weapon and my fighting style. So I use a lot of the kicking techniques, spinning techniques, like a mix of taekwondo. It could be a little bit of very dynamic, agile kicking with spinning and like hands, very quick hands technique to use in favor all this momentum that is created by the fighting, by the dancing, the spinning of the dancing. So the adrenaline of fighting is like when a matador jumps in the arena to be with the bull. It's a moment. It's such a unique moment that you're facing death. So that's the only moment that you're present, and every move that you do needs to be so precise.
When JJ called me and he said, I want you to play this guy, Radovan, he was first like this former Russian military guy. And then once we came here, we just kind of like discovered he wanted to speak different languages, an accent, a Russian accent. And then we just kind of discovered, let's not do that. Let's just keep him like more. We don't really know where he's from. I'm a former military guy, come from a military family. I think JJ really formed his character kind of like how he is, because JJ was in the military and he did that for a long time in his life. And so he kind of formed that character around me. And I remember there was a really funny thing. When I did my first scene, the first time I was on set, you know how it is. The first time on set, I come out, I do my thing, I step out of a car, I smoke a cigar, and I walk. And I don't know what I did, but every line went like this. Everything was messed up. I don't know what I said, but it made no sense. But then he sent me the clip, and it was so funny. And I'm listening to him while I'm actually doing my scene, he's talking over what I'm doing, and he goes, and here it comes out. No, it's Bernhardt, it's not Schwarzenegger. And I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And it gave me the idea. And I thought he kind of wanted me to be a little bit like Schwarzenegger, and I'll come out with the cigar. So I kind of molded the character a little bit like a mix between Schwarzenegger and Clint Eastwood. And he wanted me just to be very, you didn't know that?
No.
That was actually really funny. And I swear to God, when I stepped out of the van on my first scene, the first take, whatever I said made no sense. But it still looked good. But he wanted me to be very, very military. I play a former military guy, legionnaire, soldier of fortune. I work for the highest bidder. I'm an expert in weapons. I'm a tactical guy. I do all the military stuff, and I stalk Flot the whole time, and I'm there to do the job. I do not like those guys. That's the one thing. And what I did, I'm a very smart guy. What I did is I let them all go in and die.
Yeah.
And then I'm the last one. But I died too. Damn it. JJ's energy is intoxicating. He loves what he does, and he wants to get the job done. And then he goes, when he likes it, he goes, tasty,
Yeah.
tasty.
I think he's very honest of what he likes.
I agree.
You know, he's a fan of all these the things that we do too, like the training and martial arts, and he brings the energy up and cheer the crew, and everybody's on that kind of same page. And I think that's a very unique thing, you know. So he doesn't have a doubt what he wants, because he just wants the movie that he will love to see when he was like maybe 15 years old.
He gives you a lot of room. You know, he has an idea what he wants, but he gives you a lot of room to do what you want to do. He is such a giving director. He wants you to be the best you can be. And he supports you so much.
We prep for, you know, like I will say like a week more or less of, you know, very intense with the stunt team. They already have a previous before I arrived. So then was me arriving and putting my input and making some changes, adjustments for my character, and then going through it and making sure all, but then of course that also evolves on set. So it's different stages of the fight, you know, like first you have the very dynamic, explosive spins and kicks and stuff like that, but then you go to the ground and it turns more into like an MMA ground and pound fight, very violent. There's a lot of good actors, action actors or whatever, but they, for some reason, that vulnerability doesn't come across so naturally that it does with Dave. I think Dave is a guy that even, he's big and like action and tough, but there's something in him.
In his eyes.
In his eyes. And I think that comes across, and my only conclusion is there's two options. Or he's just an amazing actor.
I think it's both.
Or he's just a real, nice, beautiful person inside. And there's something that he captured like this, and it makes you cheer for him and makes you like him.
In my opinion, he is the absolute perfect choice for this character.
I think Killer Games is a must-see because it's going to have one of the best action martial arts sequences you've ever seen, for sure. And it's a nice love story. It's at the same time, I think you're going to maybe get some emotions watching this movie.
I loved that it was a love story disguised as an action film. And I came across The Killer's Game years ago, and I just thought, at the core of it, it's just a great love story. It's a fun love story, and then surrounded by, a lot of badass action. Now we have all these interesting, quirky characters, and all the really world-class action and a love story at the heart. So I think it's just, in a lot of different ways, it's just, it's going to be something special. It's going to be more than just an action film that you've seen. And it does have those moments of levity, which I think, these type of films, they need. Because when, at the end of the day, people want to be entertained. And so if it's so much gratuitous action over and over and over, it just becomes monotonous. But you throw in those moments of levity, you throw those moments of romance, and you throw in that, a heartwarming story between Joe and Zvi. It makes for a very well-rounded story, which you don't typically get with fast-paced action films. So I think in a lot of different ways, we're just going to set ourselves apart. Joe Flood was probably always somewhat of a misfit, never really found where he fit in until he was in the military. I think he found his calling and found that he was naturally good at combat. So I think it's one of those things where he really pursued what he does for a living, really just because it was kind of a natural order for him. It was a natural flow, a natural progression, not because anyone, ever wakes up and thinks, what I want to be when I grow up? An assassin. But I think Joe Flood found what he was good at, and he pursued it, and found other people that were kind of, pursuing the same interests. And so he fell into this world, and I think now he's, he's older, and he's starting to reflect and see that he's missing a few things, maybe a few things that he's never realized he was missing. And I think one of those huge things is love. I think Joe Flood's in love for the very first time, and he doesn't know how to deal with it emotionally. He doesn't know where to put those emotions. I was talking to JJ, and I said there's one thing, and I know this from when I was younger. When I was younger, I grew up on the streets, grew up in a very violent time and area, and I didn't have anything. I grew up really under not the best circumstances. When I was younger, I never felt like I had anything to lose. And then when I had my first child, my life changed because now I've got something to lose. And I think Joe is at the same point in his life where you start looking at life differently when you've got something to lose. And now Joe he's found Maize. He's fallen in love with Maize. And he finds out that his life is ending, but it hurts because now he's got something to lose. We've been looking for a project together for years and years and years and years, and we just couldn't make anything work. And this was just kind of a last minute thing that just fell together. I told him, I said, when I see you, I'm going to give you the biggest hug. And when he showed up and I saw him on set, I did. I picked him up, and I don't think Terry Crews is used to getting picked up. I picked him up. I was just so happy that we're finally able to do this together. And he's got a role that is just so tailor-made for him. He's just gonna pop out, and people are gonna be quoting him. They're gonna be quoting him. They're gonna be quoting Love Doll like they quote Drax. And he's gonna get tired of hearing it because all they're gonna do over his social media is quote Love Doll for the next 10 years. I'm so happy he's here, and I love him as Love Doll, but I love him more as a human being because he is just such a good-natured, kind human being, and I just love him to death, and I thank God that we're able to do this together. When I first read the script years ago, I only ever saw Sofia Boutella playing Maize. We did a film together and we clicked in the past. And I just knew we'd have that chemistry would kind of translate on the film and it would just work. And for me, this was something that was very important to me because I do see this as a love story. So I needed to have chemistry with my love interest. And I knew I would have that with Sofia. So she's a huge factor for me in this film. Then there's who can dance and who can be beautiful and charming and sexy and badass you're really limiting your actresses. There's like a few in the world. And so I think it's going to be apparent when this all is said and done that she was absolutely the right choice. We're talking about Joe Flood. He's a man he's made out of metal. He's made out of metal. He's not afraid of anything. But Zvi is that one guy that he's just looks up to, he admires, he respects, and he trusts. I think he's his mentor, but also very much a father figure to him. I think anything that comes out of Zvi's mouth is gold with Joe. He knows that he can trust. In a world of not being able to trust anyone, Joe has one person that he can trust, and it's Zvi. To be a person like that for Joe Flood, has to say a lot. There's an odd energy when Serben walks in, and there is such a respect factor with him. Everybody is they're on their best behavior, and he carries that with him in real life, and it translates onto screen. He just has such a strong presence. And again, this is not like a fear thing. We're not afraid of him. He's not even physically menacing, but his presence is so large that everybody just kind of quiet and respectful and just, wants his approval. There's not a whole lot of people who could step into this role. There's very few people who could step into this role. Serben, in stature, is not a very large man. In presence, he's enormous. So he needs to carry that onto screen because it's got to be believable that this man would be someone that would be so revered by one of the best assassins in the world. I have to give that to the producers, to JJ, that they all made it happen, and they had the foresight to see this and see all of us together, and were able to understand the nature that we wanted on our set, that it needed to be a set full of good chemistry. We needed to all kind of melt together and love and respect each other, and I'm not blowing smoke, but that's what we have here, and it's magic, and it feels like magic, and every day feels good to come to work, and it feels, and it's fun, it's crazy that, and I've said this more than one time on this film, it's crazy that we're getting paid to do this, because this is so much fun. I think what I've enjoyed most is just getting to know JJ as a person. JJ and I's relationship together is we're both exploring new things for the first time together. And so I feel like we are collaborating. He said, because Dave, I need to prove myself too. He said, I haven't done that. People are going to be expecting a certain thing from me. They know me for action. They're not seeing me direct a love story. He said, so I needed to prove myself in that aspect as well. After we had started shooting the scenes with Serben, I sent him a text. I said, not too bad for two broken down knuckleheads.
In this case, it was one of those rather strange circumstances because I know the production designer, the lovely Matt, and I happened to be on holiday at the time, and he sent me a copy of the script and said, would you like to think about coming over to Budapest into the summer and working on a movie? So I read the script, loved it, because the script was amazing. So as soon as you get the script and you start to read it, start building up the the characterizations. As soon as you get the script, all the characters just kind of leapt off the page. And they were so kind of fun. Some of them are really fun, and some of them are, obviously, it's an action movie. People kill each other. So there's a lot of kind of tragedy in a pseudo-tragic way. However, it's funny. It's an action comedy. And so when I was reading it, I had all these ideas in my head, which were also kind of took me back to my youth. And it was such a pleasure to kind of read the first script, because it's very rare you read a script and have such almost a kind of finite idea of the characters as soon as you read it. The actual script was exciting to read because it was fun. When it was working with Joe as a character, my main thing was that he is very rich, but very relaxed and comfortable with who he is. He's a man of a certain size, And so a lot of men of that size have to have clothes made for them. I kind of set my palette in a very mild way for Dave, so I didn't want him in black all the time or in anything killerish all the time. We needed to show that he had a lighter side. Someone aside that Maize could fall in love with. I swung the character portrayal around a kind of Budapest, sort of Italian sort of vibe. So he has quite a sophisticated wardrobe for the type of character, basically. And he's also rich, so you can when you're rich, you can have bespoke clothes. But we underplayed him in lots of ways too, because he's such a beautiful man. You want to let his natural beauty and his physicality shine through. Anything you put on Sofia looks amazing, regardless of what you put on her. My main first thing with Sofia was the fact that she's traveled the world. She lives a semi-bohemian lifestyle being a dancer. She's professional in every sense, but also very, very effervescent. She also has a life around her. And it was to try and get across in her character some things which were unique. I wanted her wardrobe to be representative of someone who would feel comfortable walking through the streets of Paris, equally walking through the streets of Budapest. Anywhere in the world you could feel comfortable because she innately had a sense of her own style. Sofia was very, very hands-on. From the moment we went for this, she was hands-on with her characterization. My job is not just to dictate a look. It is actually to build and to work with the actors to create a look. It's a pleasure to be able to interact and to build characterization, because that's what you want to do. You want the actor to walk onto that film set and know who they are, and know why they're wearing the pair of shoes, or they're wearing an earring, or they're wearing a dress, and to feel 100% wrapped up in that character's world. That's why I do my job. Thankfully, we got the amazing Terry, and Terry Crews is just a dream actor to work with. He's the sweetest and nicest of men you could ever want to meet, and an amazing body to dress. And what's nice is he was also comparable to Dave's height and size. So you end up with these two men who are almost equals. But I tried to do with his outfit, I wanted it not to be too pimpy, but really sophisticated. That's why he wears this beautiful signature, a beautiful leather fake alligator, trench coat, which is belted, and I wanted it to have a liquid feel, so it's super light. Everything I designed was super light, but one of the factors that brought to a lot of this was that Lovedall's, like his signature trench coat, is as light as I could possibly make it. And that comes across because when he moves, it's almost like water. I wanted her clothes to reflect that, but also be chic, elegant, but also deadly. She wears, different skin, leathers and things like that, which are textural and to help to play with her silhouette. So she wears basically a form of leather throughout her characterization, and they play out from a full-length, massive, long, beautiful leather trench coat to a beautiful snakeskin style gold jacket. And all that plays through in one line. So it creates a visual reference to how her world is. She wore a necklace with a ring that we found, and we put this antique ring on it because she wanted something that, for her, was representative of her father. And so she would literally touch it and stroke it and hold it and actors love something like that you can give them, that they can lock a character around. And it can often be tiny little thing, but it brings the world to them. JJ is one of the nicest directors I've ever had the privilege to work with. He is such a warm, genuinely lovely man. And I think the warmth that you get from JJ is and I think it's interesting because JJ basically, I like to think, hires you and trusts you. And as soon as you've sold the idea and you know what you're doing, he kind of lets you run with it, and he wants you to be his eyes. I don't know, he's just very approachable, and that's what you really want. He's also an amazing stunt director, and because JJ has done stunts his whole career, it's a really good dynamic movie, and I think it's great. I think the characterizations are fun, and it'd be lovely that they enjoy the nice little romantic side too as well, which is always good in an action movie.
So, you know, it's funny how this movie came to me. It came to me about 10 years ago to be a stunt coordinator. When I was cutting my movie, Day Shift, I invited Andrew Lazar into the editing room to watch the director's cut. And about 2 weeks later, he offered me the movie. When Dave came aboard, like getting the Killer's Game was kind of winning the lottery, but getting Dave to star in it for me was like winning the Mega Million Super Grand Master Lottery. So yeah, I jumped at the opportunity to work with Dave Bautista, and I was super honored that they would see it my way to direct this movie. I didn't expect to be a director, so I was like, hell yeah, we'll do that. When it comes to comedy and performance, there's a point where I have to lift a little bit. Like, I don't rush. I create a sense of urgency and a pace on set, but I also want to give them the opportunity to do what they're there to do. And I think that's the trick is, you know, like, strangely, I learned a lot from being a second unit director, but I also learned a lot from being a squad leader in the Army. It's like how to drive your team down, you know, up a hill and doing some crazy stuff and doing it efficiently and fast. And motivating people. I always look at it like it's going to be 7 days a week from the moment I take the job until the moment we deliver it. And I'm going to never say no to an actor unless I have to. I'm never going to say no to my team unless I have to. But I'm going to be decisive. So since then, I've just approached all of it with like, just never say no and go for it and give it everything you have. And, you know, I was been very fortunate. So that's what my grandfather used to say. When an opportunity comes and you're prepared, we call that good luck. And he said, then you can never say no and you can never back down, never take a step back. So I guess it comes from, you know, the way that I was brought up and all that from the Army as well. What makes fight interesting? What makes that interesting? It's when you create a problem and then for your protagonist and you show how they solve it. Then you create another problem, you show how they solve it. It's just problem solving in a way that the audience, whether they have fought or not, will understand. So Marko is an old friend of mine who plays Botas, big fan, and he's a good dancer. I mean, he can dance, that fool can dance, and he can fight like a pack of wild dogs. So I said, I thought it would be cool if he needed to have music while he fought. When the music went away, he'd lost his step. His step came from the fighting. Shaina, the girl with the butterfly knife, it's not often you see somebody that's as handy with the butterfly knife as Shaina. She's really good with all bladed weapons. And Lucy Cork doubled Cameron Diaz for me in on the movie Back in Action. And she's so tough. So I figured we'd put those two girls together and have them chop a bunch of guys up. And then there was Scott Adkins and Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre is a WWE star. He's a big star in WWE. Because I got Scott Adkins. I put Scott in all my movies. I love Scott. But he's one of my go-to brothers that never lets me down. And those two, I needed them to play brothers, and I wanted them to be Scottish and be unintelligible, be a little more rough and tumble. And then the style that Dave has is just a problem solver. Like, Dave is a legit wrestler, but also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I wanted there to be guns, but a lot of booby traps. I always thought it'd be funny. Like, if you're a lone operator, it's just you. So you don't have anybody watching your six or your right or your left. So you have to be able to protect yourself. So I wanted to set a lot of traps, clever traps. Those guys all had their own style, but when it's fun and you put it into context and you do the problem solving and you set the traps, it makes it a little more fun. So that was my goal. He is one of the most generous, kind, hardworking, talented people that I've ever worked with. He is physically one of the most gifted at 6'3", 265, 70 pounds. He was a live show. He's a professional wrestler. But that, to me, it really resonates with me because I was a stuntman for so long, and basically what he's a stunt actor on primetime television with no take two. Getting a chance to work with him on this, you know, him signing on to this, like, you know, listen, man, the hard part about directing is getting people to believe in you. Getting him to believe in me and take a chance on me, and, you know, Andrew Lazar and Steve Richards and the producers. Yeah, man, I wasn't going to let it slip, and I wasn't going to let him down. I definitely had it in my head. So I go way back with Terry. We did Expendables together, Expendables 2 and 3 together. Big fan. It's like, you know, you got Terry Crews in a close-up, then you got Dave Bautista in a close-up, then chop, and they're gashed up. They're dudes that played football and wrestled, and you know, they're just big 250-pound plus 6'4" twin towers. So, you know, having him in the movie and another ally, another good friend. But I was watching a lot of Leone. I wanted to do that same idea, you know, like go from the over, wide, close, ECU, then hit him with a car. I didn't want them to actually fight because when we bring them back in part 2, they might team up. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, I think Dave's biggest worry, you know, when we finally talked about it, he was like, hey, how are you going to do that love story? I was like, I don't know. How are you going to do that love story? But he said he loved Sofia Boutella. And I was like, me too. And he said, I work with her. And I said, are you homies? And he was like, yeah. And I said, dude, let's get her. And she's also an amazing dancer, the opening scene. And like, Sofia really brings it. You know, she's a pro, shows up on time, puts in the work. Like, she's just amazing. And the camera loves her. So for me, I got really, really lucky with her. And to get them, that they have so much comfort together. No, they just showed up and it was really natural and fun and cool what ended up happening. It just happened. And I was super stoked to have been a part of it. So we were all super nervous because Sir Ben Kingsley was coming. We were super nervous. So I immediately, he's there. He's just on his wardrobe fitting JJ. I was in the middle of shooting the fight in the castle, and they said Ben's in his trailer right now, and I just ran out there. And he opens, he goes, yes. And I said, Sir Ben, I'm JJ Perry. Oh, come in, my lovely. And I came in. I immediately put my hand out, and he took my hand, and I gave him a little tug, and he went right in for the hug. And I said, no, I got you. I was going to make an adjustment a couple of times in the scene. I would walk up, and I would see Ben, and he would just go like this. And I would know that he knew what to do. Davey was super nervous too. Like, we were both sweating the morning that he was supposed to come, and he goes, "Dude, I got to be working. I got to bounce with Ben Kingsley." I was like, "Yeah, you do. I got to say action and cut." But it turned out amazing. He had so much fun. We just hit it off really well, and I was super grateful that he took that job. So I go way back with Palm when she did her first movie in America. It was a remake of Old Boy, and I was the coordinator, and we put this big scene together. We trained her, and she's become, you know, an amazing talent. She's always had the acting talent, but like her physicality, she can do a wheelie on a motorcycle, she can slide cars, she can ride horses, she can skydive, she can fight with swords, she can do guns, she can do judo, she can fight like a pack of wild dogs. She's always wanted to be an action star. So we saw a little window of opportunity, and I thought to myself, let's call her. And it worked itself out, and I'm super grateful for it. And she brought so much. You know, there's a lot of outtakes of her going big. Like, she'll hang it out there, and I'm just a huge fan of Palm, like my little sister. Actually, there was Justin Yu, Troy Robinson, and Felix Betancourt was the fight coordinator. So I go back 34 years with Troy. His father was Dar Robinson, the most famous stuntman in the history of stuntmen. Troy's the most decorated stuntman from America with Taurus Awards. I think he's got like 9 of them. It's ridiculous. When I got out of the Army, he's one of the first guys I met. He really took care of me. You know, he's younger than me too. He's my little big brother, and sometimes I'm his big brother. Justin has been with me for like 10 years now. Like, I met him at 8711, but Justin's from my neighborhood in Stafford, Texas. He is a tremendous talent as well. Felix Betancourt is a wrestler and a breakdancer. Justin's a world kung fu champion. Troy's just a badass when it comes to film, but like when it comes to rigging and car work and vehicle work, that's my dude. You know, I'm just lucky to have them. You know, they're just amazing talents. I think they'll all be directing soon enough. Flavio came and brought it. He's an old pro, and I was lucky to have him. And he was the right tool for the job, and I'm grateful for his hard work. Yeah, he was just super cool and open and never said no. I mean, that's the big thing, is I'm always looking for that kind of can do or die kind of mentality. And You know, Flavio, like, listen, you ask Justin, he'll tell you, you got to be careful when you follow me. I'll run right into a burning building and get set on fire, but I'll put myself out. I might not be able to put you all out, but I can get me out for sure. So Flavio ran in that building with me a couple times. So it was a really good experience for me. So I'm extremely colorblind. When it comes to the artistic side of these movies, I always lean on my production designer and my director of photography and my costume designer to help me with that, because I can't tell. Super dyslexic, super colorblind, and I'm deaf in my left ear. So I need a lot of help with those things. And he was him and Flavio and Matt Gant, Matt Gant was the production designer, and Wolfie was the costume. Were very helpful when it comes to that side of it. Look, at the end of the day, you hire the best people, and sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, sometimes you stay out of the way, and you create an opportunity for them to succeed. It's just, I want it to be right, and I want it to be best, and I want everyone's artistic vision to be able to shine. I hope people really enjoy it. I feel like I said, I wasn't really setting out to make an action movie. I was making a love story that has a train wreck, a violent train wreck with a crazy action movie. As soon as I saw Dave and Sofia together, I was like, oh, we're on one now for sure. And I had all my friends there. Like, all my friends were the characters. And we all came up with these wacky ideas for characters, and everybody had their own style. And so for me, I think that the audience will have, it's a wild ride. It's got something for everyone, you know, and I don't really have a political message for anyone. Just enjoy, fasten your seatbelts.
We had seen the schedule, and with not a lot of time and not a big budget, we had to be very strategic on how to manipulate the choreography to the schedule. So one of the first things we worked on was, I think it was the Love Death montage.
That's right, yes.
And being Felix's background with dance and music and everything like that, we capitalized on that, and we asked him for a lot of choreo that could be funny and loving, and a lot of dance moves where we can have both characters made up together, do some cool, outstanding moves and cool transitions. And then from there, we started really going down to like the real nitty-gritty action stuff, the harder, more complex action sequences that we didn't have much time doing, but we had to like very strategically work out the choreography with the minimal amount of crew.
And we had to make sure that on the day, and I think we probably had only 2 moments out of this movie where we had to change choreography. But the best part is that the actors that we had were actually very talented. So we were very lucky to have them. You know, just how they would come in and we would be surprised. So much things happening. We have hand-to-hand, then we have acrobatics, and then to the ground, and doing jiu-jitsu, then having to come back up and then do some sword work. And then, so there was a lot of things that, you know, using our environment as well. We had to use wires. We have to be alert with the actors and make sure that they don't get hit at all. Because then we would have to, it would shoot us back a little bit, and then we would have to fix the choreography. So we were trying to keep the choreo exactly the same and how we pre-visualized it. So it was exciting to know that we had talent as these actors. Dave Bautista is an amazing jiu-jitsu guy. And I did not know, man, that's 6-something, 260 pounds. I did not know that he could move that fast. And then we have Marko Zaror, that's just a phenomenal, just body, language, mechanics. We was happy to know that the actors were so communicating together to be able to, you know, we can conquer the scene, you know, the whole action.
Down to his character, because I remember when Marko came on and he was like, I want to do flamingo dance. And I looked at Felix like, you got this, man.
I think that was really cool about Marko, like just his expression in his character to Dave, and then Dave replying back of like, what?
Yeah.
Who am I fighting?
Yeah.
And he's fighting a dancer that can actually fight.
And on the day when we started shooting it, when it all came together, when Felix was editing it and showing it to everybody was like blown away. Like, let's not lose anything. And I think that one really took its wave. Like, it just took all the hype and everything. A lot of the actors, Scott Adkins and Drew McIntyre, They would fly in the day before they had to shoot. While they flew in the week where they were fitting, we were like, hey, could we get them for at least 1 or 2 hours? We just want to show them the choreo so they get a rough idea of what they're doing. But because they're so talented and they've retained choreography so well, and Scott's been in the game for over 20 years, just killing it, like with action films. He was just on John Wick 4, where he was one of the stars, and he came on board and just saw everything and just embraced it. He went over the top on everything and killed it for us. It was just outstanding to work with these remarkable talented actors. The Goyang team, Team Orthodox from Korea, it was their first time working on a Hollywood picture, and they came in full force. A team of 20 just standing there ready to go. It was outstanding. And Sofia, her dance background, what an incredible dancer. Like, I saw her move the other day and I was like, what? Like, blown away.
I've never met a person like Dave Bautista that is 260 pounds, solid, tall, but is learning the choreography on the day. And even with the little moves that we were doing, he was moving faster than me. And it was surprising. I was just like, wow, this guy's big and he looks like a lightweight. But that was just knowing that an actor like that can do that move on the day and still kill it. Very impressive. I've never seen that. So that was
Zero
really nice.
rehearsals.
Zero.
Once a choreography was done, we'd run over and show it to him, and he'd be like, yeah, 2 thumbs up, and
Super
just shows
down.
up on the day and just kills it. Kills it.
I've never met someone that moves so fast. I always have to be on my toes. He's running his mind like it's spinning so fast because he has to deal with so many things that we have to make sure we're spinning with him.
As he's setting up one shot, he's playing cards and he's playing like pool. He's got 3 shots ahead and he's telling the crew, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and this next. We're gonna turn around and do this next. Get ready for that. Get the jib ready, get this ready, have them doing rehearsals, and he's just on it every single day. And his excitement and energy just brings it out of everybody too. Everybody just wants to do well for him because he's so excited.
He kind of has a thing where he yells out, to everyone, he says, us. And everyone in the whole set yells it out loud. He motivates us to keep pushing forward, and I think, as a leader, he's dominated that.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to work with any other director other than him after that, I've been with him for over 10 years, and every single day that I work with him, I get even more excited. He just brings it out of us, every single one of us, the whole entire crew. It's amazing.
I just really enjoyed the fact that every single character had their own style. At the beginning, obviously, you see everyone in their groups, and I just found it just entertaining, like the whole storyline with Dave and Sofia. It was just really, really fun script.
So fun. I could almost hear the soundtracks. And, everything's so different. There's so many different flavors. And that's what I think is really fun. There are such flamboyant, interesting characters, and they all bring something completely different to the story. So, yeah, it was just really fun.
Ginni is definitely in the adult industry. Maybe she's been a dominatrix her life and got assigned some assassin kind of work. And then through the work, she needed more help. And then Tonya came along.
Tonya grew up in a broken family. She became accustomed to that growing up, and one day she couldn't take it anymore, and she did her dad. Her mum covered it up. She left, hit the streets, and started selling drugs and taking over other drug dealers, taking them out. And that's how word got around. I became a bit notorious, and that's how Ginni heard about me. So when she got this job,
She wanted a piece of Tonya.
Yeah, she needed some help. She came and got me before I landed myself in trouble with the police, and then we hit it off, and we've been together ever since. Yeah.
And then G&T happened. Just like
Contract killers, besties.
Assassin, basically. The serious one, I would say, out of the two of us.
I'm definitely the more bubbly, really having a good time. I have a bit, too many screws loose because of my troubled past.
Keep her in check.
Yeah. So I'm always looking to Ginny for like approval. Like, was that good? Did I get him good?
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm really excited.
They're very different, but also opposites, just like attract.
But we both really relish our work.
I have these knives in my shoes. So they're quite secretive, obviously weapons that no one knows about. So I just think she's very coy and very much to herself, so it's quite nice that she just kind of gets these knives out of nowhere, and then the guys just don't even know where it's coming from.
Me, on the other hand, I'm all about the flourish and the fun. I don't care about it being a clean job. I'm getting it done. I'm having a great time.
It was amazing just putting it together, just thinking about all the moves that I could kill them with. So we kind of thought of more like kicky moves. And then just kind of putting that into like a little routine, and then obviously incorporating it so you could obviously kill the guys, which I pass off to you.
We had a tag team thing going on. Yeah. So it was really fun, kind of like, I start him, you finish, you start, bring him my way, yeah, slice him up, send him back to you.
And then also having like eye contact in the fight as well, knowing that, yeah, she's ready to kill.
Yeah.
You know, so having that little dynamic was pretty fun.
The earlier fight was different compared to the later fight, because the earlier fight really brought out our personalities. I think it was a good introduction to Gin and Tonic. It's a bit unassuming at first. You see these two dancers, cool, they're having fun, they look great. And then it's a murder scene.
Yeah.
And I think that element of surprise is really fun. It's colourful, it's a bit unpredictable. And then, you know, later in the film, you know, obviously you see that we've been assigned this very important mission. And, you know, it's a bit more serious, but not too much more, especially for my character.
Yeah.
And it's, you know,
we've got some guns.
Yeah, it's less freestyle and more, you know, tactical. Right?
Yeah.
We kind of have this unspoken plan between us, and we try to stick to it as much
but
as we
we still
can.
have fun. I would say we still have fun.
Yeah.
Especially with what we say to each other along the way, and then we still work well as a team. You see with our little our guns and everything. But yeah, I think they're totally different. Sexy, but then assassin.
JJ's definitely one of the funnest directors I've had the chance to work with, because he just knows how to boost your energy back up, boost your morale. You know, he knows how to grab you that split second before action, and he knows what to yell at you.
Yeah, and he's always like, ooh, I've got a question. Who wants to do one? And then you know exactly, and everyone's like,
who wants to go for one?
Yeah, so that gives you the energy, I think, before, and you just know that he wants the best out of you.
And it's refreshing, it's nice as a performer. Sometimes we're really in our head, we're thinking about the character, you know, and he just knows how to, you know, give you that boost of life to kind of wake up in front of the camera. I think he knows how to connect with all of us and push us, and, you know, and I love that he gives us so much creative freedom as well. You know, everyone, they have their ideas of the character, they give us our characters, but then it's also, what would you like to bring to this role? What do you think your character would say, even though there's already a script? And I really appreciate that. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely fast. He shoots quick, so you have to be on it. You have to bring the energy. I've met him before, previously on a job, so I already knew that he was amazing.
I think that's quite unique, because often everyone has an idea with strict scripts, and, you know, we stick to it, but it's nice to be able to flow and play, and especially bounce off the other characters too. So I feel like a lot of our scenes were overlapping. We came in, you know, we had two of the Scottish guys in there just wrapping up their scene, and we kind of take over, and they was passing us the baton.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's like everyone's passing the baton in this film to try and take out our target. So
that was great.
Yeah.
So
I think
obviously, I do stunts normally, so dialogue I haven't really done before. So actually doing it with the main actor was pretty up there. It was pretty amazing, actually. And he's lovely.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, he's so nice.
Yeah.
The first thing he said to me was, "Are you a hugger?" It's like, "For you, Dave, I am." Yes, I am. So yeah, he's lovely. Honestly, he's great.
Dave is like, he really humanizes that assassin role. He's funny, you know, he's cool, he's charming, and it's nice to see all of that in one character, especially someone who's a contracted killer. I couldn't imagine anyone else better for this role, to be honest. I can't think of any reason to not see this movie. It reminds me of, you know, the funny action movies that are just accidentally iconic.
It doesn't really happen that much that everyone can actually do their fights and their own stunts. So I think in that way it's very unique.
Like really imaginative and creative as well, the way that these fights have been thrown together. Iconic.
Yeah, and funny as well. She's funny.
Yeah.
First we heard about the film was through Thane, the UPM and exec producer who we'd worked with previously on Shadow and Bone. He called me up, said, you know, you might be interested in this, got this exciting film happening in Budapest, and he knew that we liked working here. Thane set up the call with JJ and then with Andrew and Steve, and yeah, we did a little lookbook for them, the way we saw the movie. You know, JJ called a couple of his buddies that we'd worked with before and just to check us out, and got a good report, thankfully. And and then we got invited to come out and do the movie. From the outset, JJ wanted this to be a film that really showed Budapest off and showed Europe off. He thinks a lot about his audience back home and his American audience who may not have traveled so extensively, might not have seen some of these places, and he really wanted it to be a film that couldn't be shot in Texas or couldn't be shot in Atlanta. So we spent 3 weeks scouting locations before JJ hit the ground here and had a whole raft of things for him to look at, which we thought he was going to respond well to. One of the things we loved about the script was the fact that even though it's an action movie and it's quite fast-paced and there's a lot of fight sequences in it, unusually for a film like this, you get to visit so many people's houses. You know, you're in somebody else's house, and you're in Zvi's house, and you're in Fudd's house, and Maize's house. You know, and so that for us is great because you really get to show a little bit of that character and where they come from and how they live. And I think that's one of the things that makes this film quite unique.
He's probably traveled the world killing, he's really well read, he loves books. That was one of the biggest driving factors with his set. It was like a wall of books.
When you open the door and you walk into Flood's apartment, most people that walked on that set went, "Oh, this is nice. I could live here."
What's
and
for sale?
Yeah, and the same thing in Maize's. You want people to walk in and you want the viewer when they're watching the film to open that door and go, I feel comfortable here. I'd like to stay here. This is somewhere I could spend time.
The main thing in the script for him was a wall of records, and there was a couple other things that were originally scripted, artwork, framed artwork, original drawings that he collected, so kind of started thinking of him as the collector type. From there it's like, okay, somebody has records and collects kind of comic book style art. It's like, wow, maybe he also has a games room, and so we got some pinball machines and kind of just snowballed from there.
The first time we meet him, he's just come to the end of what seems like a 3-day party with a bunch of girls in his apartment. So you kind of already know the sort of lifestyle he's living.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't he have a games room in his apartment with pinball machines in? And he's the sort of character that you've got a lot of bandwidth and a lot of leeway to just make it really fun for the audience to explore. And I kind of wish they'd spent a bit more time in that apartment because
it was so
you
fun.
blink and you miss it in the movie, but there's so much detail in that. And like Megan's dad's a audio engineer, so she grew up knowing about speakers and all that kind of stuff, so she was able to put a little bit of that knowledge into the set as well. And he's got some really great, if you look closely, he's got some really great sort of audio equipment on those shelves. Before we met Dave, we spent a lot of time talking about the sets and how big things needed to be, because everyone kept saying, Dave's a really big guy, he's really big.
Yeah, and there was a chair that he needed to sit in, and we kept going back and forth about this chair, and it's like, okay, we need somebody really big to come sit in this chair.
But I think the thing was, we talked about it so much, we thought he was going to be an actual giant when he got here, but he's big, but he's not like 10 foot tall. Yeah. He's brought so much to the movie as well, I think he's a big reason why the movie's got a lot of heart. I think his obviously his action and his stunt acting is amazing, but I'm really impressed with the other stuff he's done, like the scene with Zvi in Zvi's office. I just think it's beautiful, and I think some of the stuff he's done with Maize, with Sofia, just brings a lot of the heart to the movie. The castle was another one that was tricky to find, because I think the writers had imagined that there was a lot more medieval castles within an easy journey from Budapest, but most of the castles are either museums or they're ruins. We managed to find something within a sort of within an hour's drive from Budapest, which was Tatar Castle, which is a medieval castle, and I think it took us a while to settle on that one, but it does what we needed it to do for the story. And then most of the interiors we built anyway as studio
We
sets.
used just one of the interiors for the set, but the rest, was exterior.
Funnily enough, the church was, I think, one of the trickiest locations to find, because most churches, when you go to them and you show them what you want to do, they just say, no, thank you very much, we'll see you next week when you're just filming a nice wedding sequence or something. Even if they were interested, they didn't have the availability, because we're filming in the summer, a lot of them have weddings, real weddings going on. So we spent a lot of time looking for the right location for JJ, because it had to be a certain size because of what goes on in there. It's like the big sort of denouement of the movie, and there's a lot of action that happens in there. So also needed to be not too big, because we had a great exterior location that we wanted to hold on to. So if the interior became too big, that wouldn't work. So we were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And the location managers found this great church in Vogt, which is just outside the city, and it has a crypt below, which is hardly ever used for services because it's like a private family crypt. We were able to use that. They had the availability for the time we needed to use it, because there was still a church above the crypt that was carrying on having services and hymn practice, choral practice and everything else.
Little do they know
while we were downstairs blowing people
below.
up and shooting people. That was quite fun, actually, creating the altar and everything there, because we had to make we wanted to make it more colourful. Because of the wedding, didn't we?
Yeah, because it was really just, when you walked in there, it was all just one solid color of light grey. So it's like, okay, we need to bring a little life into here.
I always think of the film unit like a moving train, and he's just chucking coal in the engine and keeping it moving. In fact, sometimes you've got to run to keep up with JJ, because you go to the set and he's finished shooting that one, he's on the next one, and we've got to get the sets ready just in time for him. So
hang on, wait a second.
He's moved already? Where's JJ?
What? Somebody, eyes on JJ.
He's great with the crew. He knows what we all do. He appreciates everybody's work, and he has a really strong work ethic himself. If you're on top of your game and you're delivering what he needs you to, he's lovely to work with and a real pleasure to work with, because he does really appreciate what everybody does.
He wants everybody to do their thing, so he doesn't really want to step on people's toes.
When you're doing an action movie, there's also the kind of second unit directors and the stunt coordinators who are deeply involved in that process. So Justin and Troy were a big part of a lot of those early conversations, because they were in the gym with the stunt guys doing their rehearsals, building walls with cardboard boxes and imagining what the spaces could be like. So we have to interject ourselves into that process to make sure that we're building the sets that they think they're going to be fighting in, and there's always a bit of to and fro, and this is what they need and this is what we want to bring to the set, and somewhere in the middle
we can provide.
Somewhere in the middle we meet, and so the set becomes a set that is suitable for the action that needs to take place.
There's a lot of cameras happening at once in different places, and because of the action sequences, and some of the action was shot before the drama. And so it's hard, or it's interesting to kind of figure out what's going on first.
But the pre-vises are really useful for that. The stunt guys do really detailed pre-visualizations of each sequence, which sometimes, if they can, are shot on the actual set, but sometimes they're just shot in a gym with a representation of the set marked out on the floor or built with cardboard boxes. What they'll do is they'll have that previs on set, and as they shoot the real footage, they'll cut it in to make sure they've got everything that they need. And so we've got a good understanding from day one, really, of what the camera angles are going to be. Do we need to put a ceiling on that set, or does that wall need to float out? Which bits need to be soft?
Or
which
they'll
bits need to
slam onto something. You'll be like, what was that you slammed on? Like, oh, a table, okay.
Because the most important thing is
or...
keeping everybody safe. If they know they're safe, then they're really going to go for it, and the action's going to look better. It will be like being on a roller coaster, and you'll be up, you'll be down, there'll be tension, there's a love story to pull you through it all.
It's also, I think, it's going to be a bit darker than we even than it reads, which is really exciting.
And for us, it's great because we get to design a set on on an opera house stage in Budapest. Like, who thought that would happen when I did a set design degree 20 years ago? I got to work in a Budapest opera house.
Using your degree.
I'm finished. I'll hang up my coat.
Well, I got a phone call from Dave Bautista, who I've known since I was 22 years old. I guess JJ, the director, had said to Dave, I have this idea, for these characters, these Scottish brothers, I just need to fill the shoes of a larger Scottish gentleman who could be physically impressive in a fight with you and somewhat unintelligible at times. I was like, I know a guy just like that in real life. And he gave me a call.
When I first read the script, I thought this is just going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Big, loud, bombastic characters and lots of violence, crazy action. I've known JJ, the director, for a long time. We go back a long way. And I was lucky enough to be in his first directorial debut, which was Day Shift.
I just read through the whole thing in one sitting. And the whole time I was thinking, this is something I would want to go see myself. And I can't believe I've got the opportunity to not only be in it, but these particular characters are standing out to me as, they're badasses, but they're a bit, dim-witted and hilarious at the same time. And I thought this was going to be a lot of fun.
What?
No, I mean, very intelligent.
So they were switched on sharp. JJ Perry, the director, is bringing back that sort of 80s, 90s, authentic, real in-camera action. And JJ's particular brand is hard-hitting, hardcore action with a lot of comedy. And it's got all that, the comedy and the action, but at its centre there's the love story as well, which probably makes it different from some of the other films around at the moment.
It's got heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot going on between the eyes with these two. I don't know how they've managed to stay alive this long, to be honest. But they're obviously very good at their job. But I think they're probably the type of assassins where it's a bit like a bull in a china shop sort of approach, where whatever's in front of them is just going to get wrecked.
Technically, I am the weapon. The hospital in the graveyard over here, but unfortunately, I don't think I deflect bullets.
I'm the only one with the gun, but I tell him to go in first. That's the sort of brother I am.
So maybe it's coming.
It's tough love.
Tough love. Yeah, it's got us this far. I would not be as comfortable as I've been throughout this process without Scott's help. And, keeping me right on everything. I come from a world of entertainment and, cameras, but generally everything is done live and you get one take and it's similar yet so different. And Scott's made sure I've, kept on that right path. A lot like Dave Bautista did for me in the wrestling when I was younger. Scott's been that for me in the movie. If I start going this way, he just starts pushing me back.
What was interesting to me was that obviously you come from the wrestling world, which is very big. You're thinking on this one, maybe we should.
Oh yeah, tone it down.
No, go bigger. Go bigger for this film. I think go.
We're very over the top in the wrestling world. We played to the back row, so I was like, wow, I better take it down a notch and get very, Hollywood and very, very here. No, take it higher even.
Yeah. For a big, bruising guy in the way he looks, he's definitely got a lot of sensitivity in his performance.
Yeah, he's never changed since the moment I met him. It's awesome to see the success that he's had, considering he really took a chance on himself when he left WWE. Then you can just see his development, how much he's progressed as an actor and how far he's come and how much he's succeeded. He brings the range you need for this character. He is a big badass, but also he's got that heart, he's got that soft side. There is a love story in there.
JJ, his enthusiasm is so infectious, and you can't go wrong with JJ. But he's got a great way of just allowing us the space to improvise and bring our own sort of colloquial Scottish words to the script and everything, and make it our own and just have fun. When he gets the crew and everyone else completely behind him, he's such a likable guy. He brings everyone along for the ride. It feels like you're all in it together. He makes you just want to do a great job for him. He brings that out of everyone, I feel.
Oh, 100%. One scene we break a bottle off each other's heads in the bar, and before we did it to each other, like I had the bottle and looking at it, not quite sure what to do. JJ went, "Break it off my head, brother." All right, 3, 2, 1. I broke it off his head. But he's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and he won't ask the stunt guys to do anything he wasn't prepared to do as a stuntman. So the stunt guys, they do go really hard on the hits and the falls, don't they?
Oh my goodness.
Because, you know, they've got a lot of respect for JJ and his life as a stuntman.
It was fun as hell. It's just so cool that there's such professionals around that are able to take what obviously Scott's a master of, doing so many movies and being able to do every kick and spin and fancy maneuver you can't even envision in your head till you see him do it. And I, even in the wrestling, I'm very much smash mouth. I punch people, I headbutt people, and I toss people across the room. And I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. Scott can do all this stuff, but the way the fight scene was designed to show off what I'm capable of and what Scott is certainly capable of was very cool. The dynamic of it all and the trash talking throughout, and even between us and with us and Flood as well, was so cool. And the whole process was unbelievable. Shout out to Rob, Dave's stunt guy, for taking so many brutal falls, and my guy Joey for taking so many falls. Yeah, it was just such a fun process, and to be able to do it in the moment. And then the interesting thing in wrestling, you have a real-time feedback when you do something. You can hear if it's working or not. In this world, you finish a fight sequence and it's silence, and you're looking around just waiting for someone to give you approval if that was okay. Like, Scott, was that okay? So yeah, I think it was okay. But finally, you get to see the take back, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is pretty cool.
You know, there have been movies in the past where you're working your socks off making a fight, and in the back of your mind, you might be thinking, oh, are they going to cut this together right? There's no fear of that on this movie because we know that we're working with the best quality action designers in Hollywood. And what's been great on this is that as we're shooting the fight, it's being edited right there and then. And if something was missed, you know that you can get that before you leave the set. And that's been a new experience for me, actually.
I thought that was normal. It's not.
That's not normal, no, that's not normal at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's like I'm relaxed because I know I'm working with the best in the business, and it's going to look great.
Yeah, action, tension, comedy, some of the best in the world at what they do. And I feel very fortunate just to be around some of the best in the world, such a solid script, and just everybody giving beyond 110%. And I'm so proud that this is my first movie that I've been involved with, and I'm so excited that people are going to get to see not just our characters that are so unique and out there, but every single one of the killers and the hitmen are also unique in their own way, really going to stand out, really going to steal scenes. And then there's Dave and just everybody that's been involved has really killed it. And I know, like, just as a movie fan myself, if I went to see this, I'd be talking about it, telling all my friends about it.
The high concept and the non-stop action, and action done to its best. And I don't believe I've ever seen a movie before where the killer takes a contract out on himself. And at its centre, there's going to be a lot of heart.
And why would he take a contract out on himself? You'll have to go watch it and find out.
Actually, Andrew Lazar sent me the script in 2018. So it was quite a long time ago. And, well, in the meantime, COVID happened, life happened, and it just came back around, I think, in like five or 6 months ago, and I was happy to see it come back on the desk because I was excited about it even back then. Also, I don't do any action in this film, so I was excited about that. I was excited about the fact that I get to play a dancer, and I've been wanting to do a comedy. I've been wanting to do something lighter, and I love that there is so much action in this project and I'm not doing any. When we meet Maize, we're exactly where we are right now, which is in Budapest, and she is at a place in her life when she's considering retiring. She's at that place in time where she's danced for a long time and she's seen it all in a way, and she's at a place where she's about, to perform at the Opera House, a show that is dear to her, probably her last show. That's what I'm thinking about it as, and then her life takes a turn. Well, I think when she meets him, he's obviously saving her life, but I don't think that this is particularly the reason why she falls in love with him. He does bring in her all that joy that she has. He is just a giant teddy bear, and I think he melts her completely down. Joe Flood deserves to be loved, and so does Maize. I've worked with Dave on Hotel Artemis quite like a few years ago. I think maybe 7 or 8 years ago, maybe. But I was just excited to do this with him. He's just the best to be on set with and to play this character with. And it's just so nice when you work with somebody who's just so sweet and kind and then easy to work with. And that's the vibe that's there. He's just so gentle. JJ's enthusiasm is quite undefeated. I personally appreciate that so much. It beats any other qualities on set, especially, you know, when you work long hours. Sometimes it gets really tiresome for the crew, for everybody. And I just think it switches the temperature and it brings everybody up, and I appreciate that a lot. I'm really grateful for him for that. And also, he's just widely talented. He shows me, he edits so quickly, and he shows me what he's done with some cuts and edits that are merging, you know, stunts and real life, and he's so excited about them. He's like, Sofia, let me show you this. And then he's just so happy about making this film, and it makes me want to be here. I was lucky to be able to bring Nina McNeely on board for this project. She's an incredible choreographer, and I'm lucky to be able to say that I do everything that has to do with dance with her. I have such a trust in what she creates, and she gets it right away, and me and her work really fast together, and I just feel safe with her, and she's widely talented. So she brought her identity, of course, in the piece. You can see that it's Nina's piece, and it captivates really well where Maize is at, that her body language. She also did create something quite different, quite unique within her style, and I think that's very much like the language of Maize, you know, her style. And when I saw the piece, I was like, spot on, nailed it. Once again, Nina, well done. I feel like the level in action is going to be quite high because JJ is quite experienced and has been around for so long and so talented as a stunt coordinator, stuntman. Like, he sees it, he gets it, he works fast with it, and the level in everybody in the film in terms of stunt is incredible. I just love being on set and working on scenes, on characters that I'm not used to playing. I'm discovering. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm a bit nervous. I always thought, I don't even know exactly what I'm doing because I'm like discovering this on my own, and I hope that it'll work. But yeah, I'm learning about myself within that pace and rhythm. You know, it's very new to me, and I just we are doing a comedy. I find it quite fun, and I like it a lot. I'd like to do more.
It's always been a fun action story with comedic beats. At the core, it's about two people falling in love and trying to survive. And what we hope is a really fun little twist on the genre. How we came to approach and offer the role to Dave Bautista was really from both Andrews and I view that he was a big action star, and his unique ability to really play a really grounded, sympathetic character, which is kind of a juxtaposition from his size, his previous career as a professional wrestler. We approached him probably like 6 years ago, and we had a long process to get to where we are now, and just so excited because his career has evolved so much and has blossomed into, you know, being one of Hollywood's biggest action stars. What I would say that really attracted us to Dave was our belief that he was going to be able to deliver on one half of this love story. And what I think we've really been so happy with, and also really surprised on just how genuine of an ability he's been able to bring to this one character. She's a very physical actress and also was a professional dancer. And the character really required that in the actress. And the extra bonus was that she had a very strong relationship with Dave Bautista. They had worked together before and had a very comfortable friendship. And she really brought, I think, a grounded approach to her character by playing a dancer that was at the end of her career, and Joe Flood was trying to end his career, and they were really able to bond in that regard. It was actually a somewhat newer role that we introduced to the script over the last 3 or 4 years. The main driver of that relationship is a strong kind of father figure mentor. And when we created the list, Sir Ben was on the top of the list, and frankly, we weren't really that confident we would be able to approach him, but he definitely was very attracted to the role and thought it was going to be really fun, and we're very lucky to have him. We definitely wanted to put a lot of emphasis on casting this role, and the character is written, I think, in a very funny way and humorous way. And when we were kind of looking at potential actors, Terry Crews was at the top of the list, because not only does he have just great comedic timing, but he also, I think, is a really well-loved person, and he's just a really genuine, funny, beautiful human being. The reason why I think JJ was so great for this particular project is just his ability to capture unique and come up with really special action. I've worked with him for over 15 years on various other projects as a stunt coordinator, second unit director, and we originally approached him to kind of fill that role on this movie. And then after we started working with him more and more, we thought he would be just ideal to direct the movie. And I think what he brings to the table is not just the ability to capture and design, choreograph great action, but also motivate the crew, gain respect from everyone involved, and really just, I think, make the project overall very unique. A day on the set with JJ is always fun. You could be 300 yards away from set and you hear him, and he is usually saying funny things and really trying to pump up everyone on set, both cast and crew. There are moments throughout the day where things kind of start to lag, and he interjects some fun as well as just new energy, so he's never shy of getting people pumped up. Flavio and I have worked together on 3 other projects. What he really brings to this movie that is special is he's an artist, and he really has a great ability of capturing moments that need a special touch. Sometimes when JJ is trying to push things along on some of the action sequences, Flavio is holding back a little bit just to make sure all the cameras and everything is lit extremely well. So I think they're a really good match, and I think that Flavio's really brought a unique look to the film. I would say what's unique about The Killer's Game and the action is that we aren't relying on expensive visual effects to make it effective. And that was really decided at the very beginning of the project. What is going to make The Killer's Game a must-see, I think, is really the execution and the action. I think people are going to be talking about that they're rooting for these several characters. And I think we've given them a lot of backstory as well as time within the film to actually develop their own stories and chemistry. But really what people are going to say about the movie when they leave is, wow, that was a really fun, big action movie.
Dave and I were actually actors, performers on the same network years ago on a network called the CW. And I first met Dave during the upfronts in New York. What was crazy is that there was this mutual respect. And we saw each other on the red carpet. And I was like, hey, man. And he was like, hey. You know what I mean? And it was wild. We knew as former athletes, you know, me being in the NFL and him being in the WWE, how hard the transition is. And then we always talked. We were like, dude, we got to do something together. And then this opportunity came. This, I thought, was the perfect role because it had a little bit of everything. A little bit of comedy, a lot of action, and a lot of drama. And Creighton is this character that I feel like I was born to play. When Dave brought it up to me, I was like, dude, you had me at hello. When I read this script and I saw, you know, this whole system, this syndicate of assassins that are all organized and have rules and have their own app, I was like, I'm in, I like it, I gotta get the app. It's got that super, super edge, and it takes things to a whole nother level where you'll never be bored. You know what I mean? It's almost like, okay, we're going here, and then we're going here, and then we're going here. Which I have to give it up to JJ, who really has taken this as far as it can go, but in the most entertaining, most fun, most bombastic way possible. It's already a world that you feel like you know exists somewhere. I think that it's just always room for movies like this. There's always room for things that take it to this extreme level, but it still stays grounded. And it's really wild because it's still very believable in all respects. It's like this network of assassins. You gotta play the game the way it's played. And the way these systems and rules work, it keeps the world together, and it allows everyone to get their check, because that's what it's really all about. Everyone's trying to find their unique ways to get paid. It's kind of like this whole character in itself. It literally is Budapest. You know what I mean? There's no joke. We mention it into it. It's like, hey, which gun am I taking to Budapest? You know what I mean? It's my first movie I've ever shot here. And I'm enjoying every second. The food, the people, the atmosphere is absolutely wonderful. Creighton Lovedoll. The way his character is designed, he's from Detroit, but he sees himself as an artist. He doesn't see himself as an assassin. With every hit that he does, it's a mini concerto. The way he references everything to music, I thought was such a beautiful touch. You could tell he loves everything from jazz to classical to Motown, but he doesn't like the new stuff. He's really all about the originality. And he just happens to be the star of the show. And everyone else is in his orchestra. You're playing, but you're really accompanying me, is his mindset. He wants the most luxurious, the finest things in life. If he's gonna have it, it's gotta be the best. And he judges everyone else in his world by what they like. If you don't feel the same way about something that he does, he knows not even pay you any mention. Either way, it's gonna be done at its highest level. And that is Creighton Lovedoll. I love Dave Bautista like my brother. He's a really gentle man. He's really about helping people. He's really about, his heart is always in the right place. And to me, that's all that matters. And what I love about Dave is that he's very sensitive to people around him, to how they feel, their emotions. Everyone feels comfortable. Everyone feels wonderful. He has no need to feel like the biggest personality in the room. You feel like he's listening to you.
which is so amazing. And I've been in other places where it wasn't that way with those kind of personalities. But it just proves what a big star he is. And it proves that there's nothing but success headed for him, even more so than he's already had. I think he could truly be one of the biggest stars in the world. No one has ever seen Dave Bautista like this. It's truly an original. This is a role that everyone has been waiting to see him in. I think the world will be ready to see him as one of the major action stars, period. I think it's beautiful. She is a sweetheart, sweetheart. I'm telling you, I am just so thankful to meet and work with Sofia. She's absolutely adorable, and she is a hellion. I mean, like, she is no joke. He reminds me of my favorite coach. You know, the coach that believes in you, and he's very, very honest, but he has a way of doing it that doesn't make you feel demeaned. And I love that about JJ. And he, you know, there's times I pitch things and he's like, man, let's try it. Let's do it on that tape. And it worked. And then there's things that didn't work. And he doesn't count that against you. The willingness to try things, the willingness to go for it, to get the best performance possible is where JJ lives. He goes 100% all out. He's looking at everything. He's like, come on, let's give it this shot. Let's give it this way. Let's go there. That's what I think makes filmmaking fun. It makes it adventurous. And we're all trying to find our way. And I'm proud to have him as our leader on this. I think, and I can't wait to work with JJ again, by the way. I was like, yo, man, whatever else you doing, just let me know, bro. Because I like this energy. It keeps us alive. He's the Phil Jackson of this Bulls game. In this movie, we get to see a more sensitive action hero, and we also get to see a much more stronger female in all the characters. And I think that that's something that's been missing in the genre for a long, long time. And I think we have a chance here to change the trajectory of how action films will be shown over the next generation.